Welcome to the Wild and Free with Anna Love podcast. I am your host, Anna Love. Wild and Free was born to inspire women to release old patterns that have kept them from living their best life. As a subconscious freedom specialist, I strive to reprogram and reframe generational trauma, not only in myself and the lives of my 3 daughters, but for those who are ready to transform anxiety, fear, and shame into authenticity, freedom, and love. Whether you are 20 years old or 70 years young, buckle up for raw and honest explorations in doing the work necessary so that you may shine your brightest light from your heart and onto the lives of others. Welcome to Wild and Free with Anna Love podcast. I am here with my beautiful friend, Jen Hardy, and we are here today to talk about the thing that I love to talk about most. How are you showing up wild and free in the world? And how does the term wild and free manifest into the way that you work with your clients? And who are your specific clients?
Well, thanks, babe. I'm excited to see you and be here with you and share all of the conversations and all the things.
Thank you.
Yeah. So which one would you want me to open with here?
Oh my gosh. I know I asked you 3-part question there. So let's take it one at a time. First of all, when I say to you directly, how are you living wild and free? What comes immediately to mind, if anything?
How am I living wild and free? For me, what comes up with how am I living wild and free, it starts with the level of awareness that I've developed. Because to be wild and free is to be free of our stories, to be free of the constraints that the past tries to rope us into and the thoughts and the prisons that they can create. And so when I think of being wild and free, I think of gaining the awareness of my perspective, my belief systems, how they trapped me for years in my own mental prison of creating a reality that I thought I was the victim of and never was, and how quickly I was able to just step out of that cage.
Dude, you just literally said my life story as well. And it's like all of us, right? And yeah. And so this awareness is what finally brings us out of the fog. For me, it was fog. And so when at like, how many decades did you sleepwalk? and how did you finally come free of it?
Yep. I was sleepwalking for 3.5 decades, which interestingly, I have found with a lot of women, at least, that seems to be pretty common. Somewhere in their mid 30s, early 40s, the latest, they're like, if it's going to happen, right? If it's going to happen. Yeah. For me, I feel like it was a little cliche. It was a bad breakup. And it was a bad breakup that really just resurfaced the repetitive story and the small t traumas that had been with that repetitive relationship and that lack of self-love, self-worth, must be broken. I must be the problem. And my first journey was a girlfriend inviting me to Landmark. And, that weekend, I mean, I feel like I got punched in the gut because it was pretty funny. Like I walked in there thinking I'm going to heal this idea around men and this relationship and be able to find love and figure out like why I can't and what's up. And all of a sudden it's like, nope, you have a lot of family stuff that you need to like work through and so much self-love issues that we need to like take a look at. It was, I walked in at that end point, right? Like that bottom of the bottom, don't care. I'm going to raise my hand every time they ask for a volunteer. I'm going to raise my hand every time they want someone to share. Don't care how terrified I am. Don't care how much I cry and snot on myself as I do it. Like, I'm done. Like, let's go. Yeah. And I, for some people that I'm the learn the hard way type, right? So I had to get to that point of I'm just so freaking done of the way things are going that I'm going to throw myself off the deep end. But it was the start. It was the start towards the journey for sure.
Girl. Would you consider yourself having been at rock bottom?
It's interesting because I would say emotionally, with my self-worth, no, I wasn't. My rock bottom was probably 2 years prior to that. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't found any like professional development, self-development. I had started to read The Secret and like started to like just kind of dabble in the self-help like most people do. I'll do a book first, right? You have good books. And I'm like, I mean, if you want to go that route, I've been there, done that. I'll give you books. But no, I don't think that that was my lowest low moment. It was difficult because it felt like that cyclical moment. And I think that's what also kicked it off, was recognizing like, well, it still happened again. And I thought I had done some stuff. And it's like, you know, the other point that we learned, right? That like, there is no end point.
Yeah. And that deeper stuff that like, you can read a book, you can read 500 books, but until you like, somebody has to reach in, or you have to reach in and like pull your soul out. You have to like pull all of the ways that you've been being and like just somehow remove them, give yourself space, and then integrate them back into you in the way that aligns. And sometimes you can't find that in a book, or you can read it in a book, but you don't know how to apply it.
Yeah. I mean, I do respect how it's a starting point for many people, myself included, you know, and it's just, it will only get you so far, but it will get you started. So I mean, by all means, if that's what you need to start with, start there. Podcasts nowadays, audiobooks, all the things. Yeah. Just know at some point, if you want to keep going, you're probably going to need support.
I love this. And Landmark is one of my defining moments too, my realizations. It wasn't my first, and it wasn't my last, but it was definitely a big one for me. And you and I met at an NLP training, and you were ahead of me in the training. And we talked about a little bit about Landmark there. And you were like, oh, wait till you dive into NLP, because this is like, this will like throw you through a whole different type of loop. So in all of that, because there's this, you know, and I know that a lot of us listening, and you probably agree because you've heard this before, but a lot of us in the personal development world now, where we are helping and serving another, we are using all of the journey that we've been on to like a guide map, like a roadmap. And it's so more impactful than just reading a book or taking a course, because we're coming from our own experience. Like we're like, yeah, been there, done that 5 times or more. So when you are working with clients, or what is your ideal person, like your unicorn client? Is it a 15-year-old girl, or is it a 50-year-old woman, or is it groups of people?
Well, it's interesting where I'm at right now with our business, because I do still take on private clients, but no more than like 2 a quarter. And in that capacity, my ideal client is old me. Like you just said, like who better to coach somebody than somebody who's already been there, done that. So in that private one-on-one space, it's definitely a woman more often than not, although I have coached a few men that were the most beautiful experiences, but it's usually a woman in a like corporate type setting or a high power type setting where she's lost herself. She may have never got married, or she's married, but she's the masculine and she doesn't know how to find her feminine. Her self-love is deeply rooted in what I do and how people see how much I do, and like doesn't understand like she can be loved for exactly who the hell she is. And really like separating those two things to find herself, her true self, her authentic self, and start being that and speaking from that. And the women I've worked with who are in those roles, most of the time they thought maybe I'm leaving, maybe I'm heading out, maybe it's something new. And they all ended up just skyrocketing into what they were already doing and actually advancing and being even better at what they do, because they embraced that other side of themselves that they had. And it wasn't only once did I have someone flat out leave their career and now she's happier than she's ever been in her whole life. But that's a private client. And then as far as groups go, we work with high stress professionals, but the area that we're really hitting hard is first responders, ideally law enforcement, all first responders. And we've seen that with law enforcement specifically, because of how their schedules are set up, the lack of funding, the lack of support, there's just a much higher, the suicide rates in law enforcement have tripled over the last 3 years, and they need some support. So we're working on supporting them with resilience, communication training, emotional literacy training. We're aiming to get in there before they get to that point of helpless, hopeless, gonna take my life.
That's huge.
So that's where we're at right now.
I love that. And so you've worked with individuals? And then do you have you been able to talk to people on the other side of that? Or is this just a new adventure that you're looking to dive into?
It's newer. We created it last year, the end of last year, really. Actually, December 23 was when the topic was brought up by a fellow first responder friend who asked us to create the course. And we've vetted it. We've had 2 where we've worked with behavioral psychologists that are in the first responder space. We've worked with the law enforcement, not first responders, firefighters, some of the call center people. So we've had various people come through the program at this point to give us feedback. And the feedback's been great. And we still have not gotten into a department and really gotten our hands on the opportunity to really manifest and create this cultural shift for them.
Yeah, but you know that it is possible. And when we work in masses, right? So is your goal, tell me some of the ideas or the passions that are behind it. Like, is there, yeah.
Yeah. Cause I'm not a first responder. My family doesn't have any first responders. I'm not connected to the first responder world really in much of any way, other than the fact that my father trains a lot of military and law enforcement. And that's how we got the connection. But when I zoom out and look at what we're doing, if I get out of it, get more macro and really take a picture of what are we doing? We're doing what my heart just freaking loves doing, which is teaching people how to relate to other humans. Our quality of life is based on our relationships, right? Period. Our ability to relate. Well, you cannot relate and you cannot have solid relationships if you cannot communicate. And you can't communicate if you have no idea what the hell's going on over here, let alone what's going on over there.
Yeah, you shut down.
Yeah. So we talk a lot about understanding first, again, right? Awareness. What's going on with you? What emotional responses and physiological responses and somatic responses are you having? And from where? Okay, now I know I can start to unravel it, like we talked about. And now I've got to go manage. I'm going to have a conversation with somebody else and they're going to be doing all their stuff. And right. And how do we have it? So it really does boil down to my bigger mission in life, which is how do people improve their quality of life by relating to other humans more intimately, more uniquely, and just in a connected way where, good God, does our world not need that right now?
Oh my gosh. And we need it. We need it with self to self. And that's where it starts. And we cannot do it with another person if we cannot do it with ourselves. We can fake it and we can say a couple things and hope it, sticks to the wall. Yeah. But I love that. And so you're looking to develop a in-person course, or is it a digital course? What's your big view?
Yeah. So we have an 8-hour version that is certified nationally through IATList, which is law enforcement credit. But that's kind of okay, if you need this now, we need credit now, we need information now, let's just go 8 hours. Let's do this. Let's knock it out. But the ideal is it breaks down into a 12-week program, 2 hours a week, where we deep dive. So it's whole part whole, right? Big picture. Here's the 8 hours. You're going to get that no matter what. If you choose the 12 weeks, then we're going to dive into each content topic over that 12 weeks, really get into integrating this. Because you and I both know, kind of like a book, kind of like a class, the initial smack in the face is great. And for weeks, maybe months, if you're lucky a year, you're I'm changed. And then shit hits the fan and stuff changes and you realize you've gone right back to where you were.
You're triggered. Yeah. And it takes repetition. So I can't tell you the amount of things that I have had an aha moment after and I go, I've already heard this, or someone will say, you already knew that. And I'm like, oh, did I know? Because it didn't sink in. It didn't absorb. And then one day I'm like, oh my gosh, now I get it. Right. So having them maybe do both.
It's like Landmark, right? We're meaning making machines, right? Life is empty and meaningless, and it's empty and meaningless that it's empty and meaningless, right? The first time I heard that, I was like, huh?
Right.
What? And now I'm like, oh, yep. Yeah. We're the meaning making machine, man.
It's some of these things need to be mandatory, in my opinion, whether we're starting with our families, number one, but in schools. But then I love how you are going right to people who are, oh my gosh, they're working directly with people who are in trauma, but then you never know how the first responders are going to be, where are they coming from? What place are they coming from? What work have they done or haven't they done on themselves? And yeah, this is so impactful. And I love that. And it all leads to that freedom, right? And that freedom to be you and to be able to serve and help another person from your grounded place. If your nervous system is out of whack and you're getting triggered, you're not going to show up impactfully or, the most impactful that you can be.
Yeah.
So I admire that.
How to create those spaces where you can both respect that I'm freaking human and I might get triggered. Like, okay.
Like without it being wrong and without it being bad. It just is. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything, I'll just sort of like open the floor up to you. Is there anything that you'd like listeners to know? Because this doesn't have to be a long podcast. I mean, the things that you've just talked about is so potent and so important. And, we're here to grow and expand our message. So is there anything that you want to share outside of what you have? No pressure.
Yeah. What's coming up for me to say is a couple of things. Something around wherever you are in your journey is perfect. And the people who are telling you you should do this or you shouldn't do that, or you got to do this, you got to do that, but in your heart you're not ready, or it doesn't feel right, or you don't even think that there's something wrong. That's fine. You're where you are. I'm really sick of the should space. It's a shame space, right? Stop shitting all over everybody.
Give me an example. Yeah. Stop shitting all over everybody. Give me an example of what you mean, because
just people telling people like, you should go to therapy. You should go to do this course. You need to get work done. And the thing is though, if someone's not ready psychologically, physiologically, all the ways, like it's not going to matter what you push them into. And I feel like there's just a lot of like, I don't even know what I want to say about that. Like the narrative around self-help these days, and it's just recognizing where you are in your journey and honoring that and that being okay. There's so much around, I have to dig, or I have to go find stuff, or I should have known better. And those are all just pitfalls that we have to learn how to navigate. I'm at a point in my journey where when people ask me like, well, this thing came up the other day and I feel like I got to go dig around and find out like what past trauma is that from? And I'm like, what if it's not? What if you just, figure out how to work through it? Like, why do we have to keep digging? What if you're digging for something that doesn't exist, but because you want to find it, you do?
Yeah. Creating something that isn't really
my journey a lot more than having it have to be a certain way, have to look a certain way.
And then, well, what's on the other side of that? What do you recommend? What comes to mind is having grace for where you are and what's in front of you. But what would be your recommendation or your desire for them?
Well, I love that you said have grace for yourself, because I feel like I have a unique definition for grace, which honestly, I feel like is from doing Landmark and some of the distinctions that they teach there, which is, grace isn't what we typically define it as. To me, it's letting go of things having to be in a right or wrong or a good or a bad type of space, right? Because there is no space when there's only right, wrong, good or bad. It's like, there's no room to wiggle. And it's like, how about, does this work for me? Does this work for me? Does it work for them? Does it work for the greater good? Is it ecological for everybody, including me, starting with me? It doesn't have to be good, bad, right, or wrong. It doesn't have to be this dichotomy, right? It's just, does it work? And like that just works everywhere for me.
I can't tell you how good that feels to hear you saying that. I don't know about you, but when I was a child, that was not available. There was never a question asked to me like, how does this feel for you? Can you let me know and get back? No.
I think in today's parenting world, it actually does exist, thankfully.
Yeah.
But oh my God, no, it didn't exist. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So imagine, kids and, even adults, when you're asking adults, and this is why adults are doing it. This is why this is an issue that you're saying needs to end, because we are all the child version of us still thinking that it has to be good, bad, right, or wrong. And I have to we shame ourselves for not doing it right, or for making a mistake, or for not knowing the answer. And then all of a sudden we think we need to go on this huge quest, like you said, but really it's just, hey, how does this feel? Is this working? Do I like this?
Yeah. Well, I want to be aware of how much passion I have behind what I said about shitting on people and pushing them into journeys. That could have very easily felt like I was shaming the people or wanting them to feel guilty for the way that they've been pressuring others or feeling for themselves. And it's not that at all. I'm just passionate about people getting to the joy in their life and letting them find their own journey. Because it's the whole, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. Like, stop trying to make it drink.
Yeah. No, everyone has to have their own journey. But I think what you were pointing to when you said that, and this is how I internalized it, is it's how we were programmed in the past. And someone somewhere created the word "you should." They said, you could have done that. Wouldn't you have loved to have done that? Like, that came from somewhere, and we were all trained. We were programmed. And so our society is filled with people who are sleepwalking and saying those things, and they are shitting all over themselves, and then they're doing it to other people too. So what you said, I think, is valid. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on this podcast and giving us your beautiful insights into life and how we can all grow and just be more authentic with ourselves and be more in love with the process of life unfolding, how it is meant to unfold for us. Yeah. I really appreciate you and your words.
Appreciate you. I love what you're up to, babe.
Thank you so much. Okay. Well, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye. Ready to take the next step in designing a life you love? The Life Design Blueprint membership is your all-access pass to exclusive tools, live guidance, and transformational support to help you move from self-doubt to self-worth. Building on the principles from the Design a Life That Lights You Up ebook, this membership is a deeper dive into creating a life that aligns with who you truly are. You will go beyond surface level self-help with hypnotic techniques and live discussions that create real lasting change in your mindset and life. You will receive ongoing support from me and connect with a community of like-minded women on a similar journey. Each week, I deliver an empowering hypnosis, which offers a unique way of working with your subconscious to reframe limiting beliefs, elevate self-worth, and reinforce positive habits. All of our sessions will be recorded and added to our on-demand library for easy access to members. Join me by clicking the link below, and I'll see you on the inside. If today's episode resonated with you and you're ready to take your leadership to the next level, I'd love to invite you to join my free private Facebook group, Life Design Blueprint. It's a sacred space where I invite and empower women leaders like you to lead with purpose, love, and authenticity. Inside, you'll find tools, insights, and a supportive community to help you clear your shadows, step into your power, and create the life and leadership you're meant for. Head over to Facebook and search for Life Design Blueprint to join us, or check out the link in the show notes to get started. Remember, you're not just a leader. You're a woman with a purpose, and the world needs your authentic light. Until next time, lead with love and live with intention. Well, thank you so much for tuning into Wild and Free with Anna Love and being a part of this magical journey with me. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and share with someone you love, even someone you just like. Bonus points if you leave a review. Show notes below gives you everything that you'll need to know, and I'll see you next time. So long for now.